we are for the 3 ways again together once a week, every Thursday, 5 p.m. UK. So dear friends, while I wait for Glenn and Sandy, I just wanted to remind you how relationships teaches us. They teach us a lot. Why? Because as we know, we attract what we surround ourselves of, so it's very important to understand that even insecurities of people around us are very contagious. So we gotta be careful of the people we surround ourselves of. Ciao Sandy!
Hello! I love that you talk about how we surround ourselves with special people. I've got somebody. This is Bodhi, my 12-year-old son.
Ciao! Amazing boy, how are you?
She said, how are you?
Oh, I'm good.
What's your name?
Bodhi.
I know, but just to tell everyone, are you happy to have an amazing mom like Sandy? Ah, Sandina. We love her too. Allora, Glenn can, okay, here is Glenn. If you want to be with us, you can. I mean, Sandy is excited.
I have to go soon though.
Yeah, he just wanted to say hi. He's a fan. He watches you all the time.
Really?
Hello, everybody.
So nice to meet you.
I heard
Ciao Glenino.
Bodhi's a little bit of a troublemaker. That's what I've heard. I've heard Bodhi likes to tease people, and I heard he likes to play little jokes, and I heard he likes to speak his mind a little bit. You know, Bodhi, there's a saying that children should be seen and not heard.
What do you think of that?
I think they should be seen and heard.
No. That's the problem, you see. I just solved all your problems in life right now.
Wow. Thank you.
All right. Maybe one day we'll have you hypnotize Bodhi, but he has an orthodontist appointment that he has to go to. I love you.
Love you.
Okay,
Ciao, so nice to meet you.
Good luck.
close the door all the way.
Okay,
All right. Hi, guys.
Hey.
Hi guys. Long time no see. Sometimes weeks they look like they feels like months.
My kids are on your couch.
Okay. You see, he's wearing a mask. We have to wear masks. I mean, we
Why?
don't, but like the air quality in New York City is literally the worst in the world because they have these big wildfires in Canada.
Okay.
And for the last 2 days, New York City has been glowing gold. You look out the window, it looks like sepia toned. Like, it's so crazy. So literally, even Floridians visiting New York want to wear a mask. It's that bad, the air quality. Yeah.
Yeah, at least for this, it's a reason that makes sense. All right, there's fires, there's crap in the air. It's not some made up insanity that we dealt with for 2 years. So it's good. For that, I get it.
It's it's like you literally want to cover your face when you're outside.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Would you prefer
I don't know.
the pollution or the sand like in Dubai or in places close to the desert where you also have to wear a mask? I don't know what's what. I mean, both bothering. Yeah.
Like if you're riding an ATV in Mexico on a dirt trail without a bandana, it's not a good thing.
Right.
I did one of those ATV tours, and it was the worst thing I ever did. There was like 15 ATVs. They all went in a single line, and you had to follow the tour guide, and all you were getting was the dust from the ATV in front of you, and it was awful. Anyhow.
Yeah.
And then when I'm like, I want my money back, they were like, all of a sudden they didn't speak English. So it was great. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. So the world continues, and we're back to masks in New York City for another day or two.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But did you guys actually, when you had the wildfires in LA, was that before the pandemic or during?
You know, I don't remember. It's happened so many times. We've had so many fires out here. I don't remember specifically what period of time that was.
Do people wear masks when the air gets really bad or no?
No. Not that I think masks now are a thing, but I've never seen, outside of Michael Jackson, when he wore one, I never saw one until COVID happened, you know?
Right. Yeah, so I don't know if the air in New York the last day or two has been worse than it was in California, or we just are more aware of masks, but yeah, it's, anyway.
Anyway, those a bit bothering us, just to say it. Yeah.
All right. So what was you were talking about something I didn't hear when we clicked on. What were you saying, Francesca?
I was saying that insecurity is very contagious, and we gotta be careful when we feel so much insecurity around us in general, in work, in families, in relationships. We don't have to absorb this energy. So how do we do? Maybe we can share a few tricks for people to understand how to not even avoid or detach, to understand how to be still within your essence, accepting what's happening around us. If you want to, I can share my vision about these guys, but if you want to, you can start.
Yeah, start us off. I have many thoughts on that, but yes, dive in, French.
I would say we always have to go deep, because also complaining about insecurities we will end up to do the same about our insecurities, and so they will never go away, or they will always come back, either with the person we have in front or with our inner self. So I believe to go deep when someone is feeling insecure, it's very important. First of all, because we can all be healers in this world if we want to, for love, for appreciation, for for connection, for understanding. So it's very important to avoid avoidance, in my opinion, and make them understand the root of the insecurity. Of course, if it's a relationship between a parent and a child, there is power struggle, so it's never easy. But between friends and between lovers, it's very important to understand where they come from. So maybe to ask a question can put the person in defeat, so it doesn't work well. Or instead of asking a question, we can also say an example we lived where we felt insecure and it was coming from blah, blah, blah. So we can also bring up examples, in my opinion, to people to make them feel they're not the only ones, so their ego is not destroyed, and we can share wisdom while fixing the situation. This is, of course, an example. We can brainstorm together.
You know, a big part when it comes to insecurity and self-love, which is kind of the same thing, it's really a lot to do with who you surround yourself with and who you listen to. If there's a lot of negativity in your life, if there's negative people in your inner circle, that is the first point that you have to break. And when you're around more positive people that have a positive self-image and look at the world in a positive way, you start to absorb that. And when you're around people that are always looking at life from the negative side, you absorb that. And it's impossible to get over insecurities or a negative self-view or a negative worldview if you're taking in that from the people that are close to you.
Yeah.
That's a huge starting place in that area.
And
right, Sandy?
Yes, and when you say when you're around negative people, you absorb that. When you're around positive people, you absorb that. That can be true, and in fact it's mostly true because people are missing one really important thing. If you are aligned in who you are before you get to them, before you get out of bed, before you get to the situation, if you are aligned within who you are, then the negative nor the positive can affect you. Because the person who has the most influence in the room is the one who believes their situation the most. So if you believe your negative situation the most, if you believe your positive situation the most, or if you believe your own alignment the most. So if there's a lot of negativity going on in the room and you come in, not like, I'm going to show everybody that happiness prevails, because there's still insecurity. They're still trying too hard in that. But when you come in being calm, gentle, because the real true definition of confidence is calm. And when you come into a room, even if there's negativity, but you are aligned, then you will have the influence in the room. Now, it's not your intention necessarily to change those people, but they're not going to have an effect on you. So when you make your only job to get out ahead of it, and your only job is your mood, and you align your mood before you get into any situation, the negative can't affect you, and the positive either. And so how do you do that? You meditate. You meditate first thing in the day. And when you do that, your vibration rises. And if people think that's not scientific, it's extremely scientific. In fact, when they measure this scientifically, they find that when you're in an elevated mood, right? That's what you're doing when you're meditating. You're aligning with who you really are, which is a better mood. When you're in a better mood, your atoms move faster. You're literally lighter. That's why you say, I feel high. It's a high vibrational, measurable, scientifically measurable mood state that we emit. And when we don't feel good, what do we call it? Hey, that's heavy, man. Or he's dense. I feel dense, right? So you elevate your frequency before you go outside. So then you leave and you're here. And then all that insecure stuff you're talking about, that's down here. You can see it, but it's not going to have an effect on you because you're not going to take it seriously. If you're down here, you get all caught up in the muck.
Exactly.
But we're still human, and we still are affected by our surroundings. So yeah, grounding yourself and starting yourself in that space, you can absolutely, most of the time, protect yourself from that, but not always. No matter how much you do, we're still human.
Yeah.
And so
then the question becomes, what if you didn't get out ahead of it? Or what if you did, but then you screwed up? So you're in the middle of a situation that's taking you down, because that's what people want to know. Well, what do I do when I'm there? So what is your suggestion? I'm in the middle of a situation. It's taking me down. What do you tell them to do at that point?
Yeah, I think all of us spend too much time trying to fix or solve a problem when the problem's happening.
Exactly. That's very
Right? We do.
Problem solver is always worse. It's so true.
Yes, we don't need to always fix a problem when the problem's happening. Removing ourselves and coming back clearer is the key. I remember I was talking to somebody and they said, you should never go to bed angry with your partner. And yes, I agree with that to a point, but I also think you should never go to bed doing more damage to your relationship than you need to. And taking that space, getting away from negativity, knowing that, you know what, all right, this is a problem right now, but let's leave it alone. Let me get some clarity and come back to it. Because our favorite saying, when you're in fight or flight, nothing's getting done.
Yeah, that's why when they say control your emotions and activate your mind, that's the control we mean, not to control your emotions to the point that you don't know where they come from. Being alone is the secret, because of course when emotions are involved, we are all more aggressive, it is normal. And so don't control your emotions, but be alone. Be alone and then you process it with your mind. Exactly, because many people hearing control your emotions, they avoid their emotions. It's truly wrong, as we always say.
Absolutely. And as you guys are talking, so many hearts are flying because it is resonating with so many people right now. Don't try to solve the problem if you're really angry before bed, because you can't solve it from the angry place. You're literally in the part of your mind that caused the problem trying to solve the problem. You can't. Yeah,
you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem.
Exactly.
That's exactly it.
We do
Mind and heart together, of course.
Yeah, right.
We do that with our lives in so many ways. When people that are not financially abundant, or they're in survival mode, and they say, well, I don't need to budget because I have no money to budget. When I make money, then I'll budget. It's the exact type of thinking that put you in that place. And by not going to a budget, by not committing to doing something differently, you're trying to fix that problem with the same thinking that put you there. And when you have a lot of money, you don't need to budget because it's there. But when you don't, that is when you have to budget. And we get that backwards.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
it's a big concept.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful concept.
You know how it works brainwave wise? This is really, I find very fascinating. When we're born, between the ages of 0 and 2, we're in what's known as a delta brainwave state, which is like a deep state of hypnosis or like a deep sleep, which is why people ask the question all the time, why do you say deep sleep when you hypnotize somebody but they're not sleeping? Because it's brainwaves that are equivalent to deep sleep brainwaves, but you're aware. So that's hypnosis as opposed to sleep. So when you're between the ages of 0 and 2, basically full time, you're in these delta brainwave states, which is why a 1-year-old's eyes can be open, but he's sort of sleeping too, right? And then between 2 and 8, incrementally it goes up. But between those ages, you're in what's known as a theta brainwave state. And that's a nice, lighter, not so deep, but a nice state of hypnosis. Theta is where we like to get our clients for most of the work we do. Sometimes deeper, but theta is a really good brainwave state to be in. Between 0 and 8, we're there naturally, which is why when you hand a broom to a 5-year-old, it is a horse. Right? Woo! Woo! And Francesca.
Yeah.
I'm here.
I'd agree with
I can be a horse too.
So now, between around 9 and 14, that's when we develop that. Between about 9 and 14, Francesca leaped right over it. She Hanuman'd right over 9 and 14. That's when we develop the critical factor of the mind. That's when we get alpha and then beta brainwave states. And this is really important for the conversation about insecurity. Alpha brainwave states are above the dreamy, hypnotic theta states, but it's like daydreaming. So you can walk around in an alpha state feeling very contemplative, very delicious, really good. Glenn, when you talk about that throughout the day, you're just constantly dropping into that good feeling. You're sort of dropping yourself into a natural alpha state. And in the alpha state, you can function in the world, but it's you're a little airy, like you're not analyzing anything, okay? But it's functional. Beta has 3 sections, a low, a medium, and a high. Beta on the low end is right next to alpha. Great place to be if you're in a lecture. You can understand the information, you can write down the information, you can make it make sense, and you also have a dreamy creative state where you're starting to take the information you're learning and put it into your life. So you're between analyzing and dreaming in that lower beta state. Really good for learning. The middle beta state is where most people who have a job think they are when they're at work. Unfortunately, they're not, but they think they are. It's sort of their intention. Beta is, I'm at work, right? You're doing your job, you're doing your accounting, you're doing your emails, you're making your calls. The problem is, it would be nice if they were there, but the problem is they're not there. They're in a high frequency beta, which is like over caffeinated, even if they haven't had caffeine, but it's like there's always an emergency and I got to get this done and there's a deadline and I'm trying to do this work, but somebody's interrupting me and I'm trying to do my job, but there's pollution in the air and there's noise and sirens. So most of us who are intending to do our job somewhere between the beta and the low beta states are actually in high beta. Now, rather than thinking of it as a line, if you think of it as a circle, you know what that high beta state is? It gets to the back of your brain. It's fight or flight. And when you're there, chemicals go through your brain that block access to creative thinking. So when you're in any kind of stressed out mode, that's not the time to work it out with your partner. If you can simply recognize I'm in a high beta state, which doesn't give me access to logic, basically, doesn't give me access to higher thinking, recognize when you're in that state. Does this feel like emergency state? Does this feel like stress mode? If so, now is simply not the time to make a decision.
Yeah, but if I can say, guys, of course, maybe for my experience, for the experience I hear from people, that sometimes, of course, texting instead of course, having a discussion on this high vibration face-to-face, even though two people are together, instead of waiting one day, maybe they can solve it writing. Because I believe writing is an amazing expression where, of course, can be misinterpreted, but can also give you the opportunity to let go of any information. First of all, because it's taken less personally, because it is actually an emptiness we need to give to our soul as we are meant at the moment and we are humans and we should say what we think. But also can help to let go of things easily and we take it less personally. What do you think about that?
Glenn?
Thank you. A lot of words.
No, we are inspiring people how to fight. I mean,
How to take it less personally is to know that
Yeah.
you never need to choose how you feel based on what anyone is doing or anything that's going on. How you feel should be your choice. Yeah. That's it. That's it. So if somebody over there is doing something and you can simply recognize they're there and I'm here. It's the same thing we've talked about with meditation. People say, I can't meditate. That's not true, but they think they can. So they sit down to meditate and they see their mind going crazy and they say, see, I sat there for 20 minutes and nothing changed, nothing got better. I didn't get to that high frequency. And I say, hold on a second. That was a really powerful meditation because you recognized what your mind does. And that's step one. And that's what I want you to do with the world. You start recognizing they're doing that. That's not me. That's not me. That's not mine. Say to yourself, that's not mine.
It's true, because most of the time we have so much anger because of external situations, external people telling us something. It's all so true what you're saying, Sandy.
Yeah.
It's not us. It's true. Però.
Personal thing is, it really is, most of the time, people aren't doing stuff to you. They're just doing their stuff.
Yeah.
People are just doing their stuff, and we take so many things personally. And when we can kind of shift that, even like things in life that happen to us, so many times we look at it like something's being done to us, like bad things in life are happening to us. They're just happening, and there's lessons for us to learn if we can choose to shift that way. And sometimes I'm there, and sometimes I'm not. It's part of my own practice. We're all human,
and
right?
when you're not, it's also okay. But when you can recognize that you're not, you are now empowered.
Yeah.
The goal is not to be in the good place all the time. The goal is when you're in the bad place, which you're going to be in all the time. When you're in the bad place, you say, I'm in the bad place. That's not mine. You cannot get the answer there. You get the answer when you let go, right? And when we sleep, we release that resistance. So taking a nap is a really good idea.
Yeah. And also, let's not forget our soul mission. So, of course, things happen because are external to us, but sometimes truly our soul is so ancient that must go through these certain scenarios that are very difficult, either to clean the karma, either to even evolve even more. So we must accept situations truly because we need to grow from them. So escaping from them doesn't bring anything good for the soul, for yourself. They will come back in the future for other situations. I'm talking, of course, in general. So we must accept our soul mission. Like, of course, sometimes I would love to work only for myself because I cannot stand to feel so drained of my energy. But my mission is to work with people because of my energy. So we must accept also the mission that our soul has. So it's very important to go through situations understanding this.
Absolutely. If you talk about your soul's mission in sort of simple black and white English, you got to go through the contrast. You got to go through what you don't like to know what you do like. It's all part of it. So just stop taking it so personally. And every time the bad thing happens, say, oh, good, room for growth, place to learn. That's not my... But exactly, just don't take it in. I'll give you an example about dating. I had a client recently who is gorgeous and amazing and smart and said, I have trouble dating and it doesn't make sense. She's like, look, I can lure any guy into bed. That's not a problem. And to look at her, you know, that's true, right? She said, but I have not ever in my entire life had a real love connection. You know, I get all the things I want from guys, no problem. She said, but I've never had a real love connection. And she said, the thing that's upsetting is I don't feel seen. I feel unseen, right? Later in conversation, talking about something else, she was saying that how, you know, she's learned how to be in this world to get what she wants so nobody can see the real person she is. And I said, did you realize you just said two opposing things? You said it's upsetting that you're unseen, but you make it so you're unseen. So when you go out, you're a sheep in wolf's clothing, right? Another way to put it is, a long time ago, I had a girlfriend who now is a very ex. She didn't like that I was getting more attention at a party than she was. And so essentially she told me to turn my light off. And so I was like, oh gosh, I must be a bad person. So sorry. When I'm around you or anyone else, I must turn my light off. And I did that for a long time. It's very bad for your health. So my light was too bright and I learned to dim it or shut it completely. And I always had to check in. Did I do any damage control? What do we, you know, was my light too bright? And what I've come to learn, and this is what I told this client, I said, your light is just on. There is no off switch. There is no dimmer switch. It just is. Who you are is your light. You're dimming your light depending on who you go out with at any time, and you're wondering why that never works out. I said, leave your light alone. I said, so it took me a long time, and it wasn't until my mid-40s that I met Jen. Right now it's pretty good most of the time. But my light's on. It just is. And so if Jen walks in the room and my light is too bright, she'll say, I mean, she's not really saying these words, right? But she'll say, your light is too bright. I'm going over there. The way I used to be was I'd say, but you should love my light. You should learn to love my light. Or the other, I would shut it off. I don't do either one anymore. I stand there and I say, it's not my light. It's not me. It's you. You're going through a thing. Bye.
Bye-bye. Awesome.
And wait,
I
who
love...
sends that up?
Also, yes,
So
dive
she
into darkness. dear stranger.
She goes to the other room for a minute or an hour or a day. My light just leaves. It just is. And then the next time she comes in, she's like, oh, I love your light. I want more of that, right? So I don't change my light. I don't throw it in her face. I don't turn it off. So even within someone you are in a relationship with, if my light's too bright for her right now, she can go in the other room, or I can be nice and leave too, but I'm not changing my light. Glenn, you were going to say something.
I just love when you tell a story, and in the middle of the story, you realize you did something funny, and you make yourself laugh. It's amazing. I love it.
Because
It's
stand
almost
up,
like
so
you're
us,
having-
when we tell a story, we leave it at the same time.
I
So either I scream
love it.
and laugh.
But it's like Sandy's telling her own story, and she's watching herself tell a story, and then her other self laughs at the story she's telling, and they both realize it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
What a
Yes.
perfect living example of that's not mine.
So good. It's
But
so
guys,
it's a cool
can we
question.
specify when we say to be seen, because it can be also misinterpreted. Sometimes the women tell us, I want to be seen. I think they truly mean they want to be understood, they want to be supported, but not emotionally. Like, for example, all these women that we can see that end up, of course, divorcing from their husband with their children, they're not seen, they're not felt as women sometimes. So for the word seen, dear friends, we mean, of course, to be seen in and out, but in most of all, because that's what I believe humans need the most. And that's why they always end up focusing on the external, also on their...
The fine line is being seen, but don't put it in someone's face and make them smell it, and don't turn it off either. Just be. And if somebody's matching with it, great. And if they're not, it's not you. It's not yours. Just keeping. Somebody asked, do you have recordings of your live? Yes. Yes, we do. So this is a podcast. We never say it enough. This is a podcast called The Three Ways, for obvious reasons. And it's on all the podcast platforms, The Three Ways. You can look up our names. It's easier to find it that way. Or it's also on YouTube. So you can watch this on YouTube and the ones that have come before. And you can listen on the podcast platforms. Three Ways podcast. Thank you for asking, Tahara. Thank you.
Yes.
Tara.
Thank you for asking.
Yeah. The fear of, and that's what this session I'm actually working on, the next session for my Hypno Vault, is not just fear of public speaking, but the fear of being seen as a part of that. Because that's what presenting and public speaking is, the fear of being seen. And in relationships, what happens, I believe a lot of the times, Francesca, if somebody's not being seen, like you said, if you're not being seen, it brings up another fear within you. And what the unhealed person does with that is they lash out to make themselves seen in a negative way, which gives them the exact result they don't want. Because you will never be seen if you're screaming at somebody, look at my light. And
Very
it's
nice. Very.
Just
really,
be it. Just be it. That's a
be
line.
it.
Just be
Not-
in it. Yes.
Also,
everybody's
public speaking, again, sorry guys if I interrupt you, is all about practice. I'm sure we all have been there, me first of all, and you gain so much confidence once you talk and speak live instead maybe only pictures, because then you focus only on the exterior, while if you film yourself even and you talk, you also start believing in your words. So thanks of course to my spiritual support that pushed me there. I believe, being in the media, because for me it was totally another world. There have been many, even Jenny, an Indian woman that I was very close to in the past. They brought me to this media world, which for me was totally a stranger. And this helped me, of course, also to speak more, even in front of lots of people. So it's all about practice.
And to piggyback on what you're saying, practice, yes, but let's be really clear. You don't have to change your style at all. Be your light when you are talking. The practice is you getting comfortable with being seen as you are. It's not about changing who you are. Yeah. Now, techniques will occur and things will smooth out, but anyone at any level of speaking can be a fantastic public speaker if they just show up authentically. And that's what we've said 1,000 times. In public speaking, authenticity is bulletproof. And the way you be authentic is you just allow your light to be. Don't push it on someone. Don't shine on someone. Don't turn it off. Literally let it be. And the bugs that are attracted to it will come.
Yeah.
I mean, the flowers that are, you know, the
But
nice
there is a skill and technique that we have to learn when it comes to, like, you don't have any of these, Sandy, in your language. Word fillers and ums and ums and all the that we do out of insecurity, because when there's a gap in our speech, if we're not trained, it feels really uncomfortable, and we use filler words. And that's something that, I mean, you've done speaking for so long, it's just so natural for you. And Francesca, with your accent, we don't know if you're using fillers or not, so it's close.
No, guys, my accent is appreciated because it is true that when I listen to it, it's totally another story from when I speak. I don't really listen to it when I speak, so I don't watch all the time, I admit.
So talking about those fillers, I would say to somebody who has those fillers, you know, when they're public speaking,
Yes.
listen to how you speak when you're talking to people who are easy, like your sister or your friend or your dog. And if you don't have fillers there, then it means you don't naturally have fillers. When I have hypnotized people who are stutterers, who say, I've been stuttering all my life, and it takes them 5 minutes to get that sentence out, and I put them into hypnosis. The first time I put them into hypnosis, I will have them speak under hypnosis, 100% clear.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Isn't that wild?
So it's only the insecurity that's getting in the way.
Yes.
So again, it's about practicing in the space of authenticity. I personally wouldn't work on with somebody on like finding the oohs and the ums. It's an uncomfortable space to be. I don't think we need to spend too much space there. I would work on dropping into who you are, looking at the audience and just connecting with them, looking at one person and seeing them in the mirror this morning, putting on the makeup they're wearing and why they chose the colors they chose and how they wanted to be presented nicely, and nobody sees them because they're in a sea of 1,000 people, right? I would focus in on one person, find love and compassion for them, because when you're basking in love and compassion for anyone else, you're basking in love and compassion, and therefore you have it for yourself.
Yeah. And don't listen to people that make you feel insecure, because there is nothing worse than someone telling you, oh my God, your accent is too strong, as they told me many times. Thank God I don't care, because I'm very strong. But of course, we can go through these phases when we listen too much to others and we do nothing. So please, friends, just don't care. Come live with us and practice with us.
Perfect, because the negative emotion associated with listening to bad advice, that negative emotion is only an indicator. It's an indicator that that's not aligned with who you are. And that's how you know it's not true. Because if it were true, it would feel great. End of story. Let it go. It's not yours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anything.
And it makes a decision. Who has the decision on how we feel? Them or me? Done.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
when we say things to each other, guys, I've noticed that we are, of course, we debate and we don't always agree, but we say it in a way that doesn't bring insecurity. We just express our opinion. So people have to learn and practice about expressing opinions without making feel the other person listening insecure. Because, of course, we cannot be too sweet being fake, but we have to say it to motivate instead of pushing down.
I love that you brought it up, because everything we've been talking about so far is about how we feel with our own insecurities. But now you're saying when we recognize the other person is insecure, we can help hold a safe space, because they're not aligned, which means they will be absorbing what we're giving them.
Yeah.
They will be. So we can do something to help hold a safe space for them. But that's very different than picking them up. And what's the word when you sort of like take people's troubles away? You feather their nest, but that just means you're getting in the way of their own growth. Enabling.
No.
We don't want to enable. We want to hold a safe space for them to find their own security. And you can do that through kind words, absolutely.
I always share my experience to make them feel comfortable, because that's the ideal, sharing what you live, and then they open up, because we are all on the same boat, first or later. Yeah.
And my whole life, Francesca, people told me, don't share. They said, don't share. It's too much. It's not professional. And I had to pass that.
But I want to go against professionality, Sandy, about that. I'm a case apart, I know. I love sharing truth, of course, not my secrets, what I can share. Sometimes it happened in my past, I did a mistake, we always learn. But in general, I believe we can share what we lived, what we can share, of course, to truly give strength to people, because showing our vulnerability of a weak moment of the past is pure strength. It means you overcome it, and the person can do the same.
I love that you said it. My whole life I was told not to do it, and now I feel I had a breakthrough, and so you're like I am. I thank you for holding the space for people who
But you're also
allow themselves to share.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Part of people's problems are the belief that we shouldn't have any, or the belief that we shouldn't have any insecurities. All of us do. Accepting ourselves and knowing that we're imperfect and that sometimes we are going to feel insecure doesn't mean there's anything wrong with us. It's just part of the deal of being here on this earth, is we're going to have insecurities. So to judge ourselves for them is really the bigger part of the problem.
And also to make people feel safe in, if they're going to really be working with what we're talking about today. Yeah. We are not, I feel like I'm speaking for both of you, tell me if I'm wrong, but we are not saying go forth and tell everyone. We are not saying that. It was Jesus who said, go forth and tell no one. I'm Jewish and I'm quoting Jesus. But he said, go forth and tell no one. I abide by that, and I also abide by share when it feels right to share. The point is, don't feel forced to share. There are people with whom I do not feel comfortable, so I hold the space that feels the best for me in any given situation. Yeah. But I'm still authentic in what I do choose to share. It's a fine line.
Totally. We don't have to force, and people forcing us to say it and forcing others are terrible.
Yeah. So Dominic said, what if it's difficult to do if there's large amounts of insecurities? You breathe in every moment, one moment at a time. That's all life is. You step and breathe. So whoever you're looking at now, whatever you're looking at now, breathe into who you are. Ask yourself what would feel best right now, and just use that moment. It's just moment by moment, and that's enough. Don't fix them all. Just see.
And then we got to work on them. That's part of your soul's journey, is to work on your insecurities that you have allowed to build up, because we've all allowed them. We didn't come into this world insecure, but we took it on through voices of the people that raised us, through voices of our friends, through the voices we put onto the experiences that we've had. So it is part of your work, is to recognize those insecurities and start to work through those insecurities. Now, it's a gift.
I love that you said that. Yeah, I love that you said that, because it's not that anything went wrong. You're supposed to have them. Everyone, the most famous people, the best looking people, everyone has those insecurities.
Of course.
We're supposed to.
Yes.
It's how you judge the insecurities themselves. Let them be there, and let that be okay.
Yeah, and supportive people, of course, not people making you even more insecure, but also we have to understand that every trigger is a lesson. So as soon as we truly reset our mind and we convince ourselves that a trigger is a lesson, an insecurity is a problem from the past, all these, okay, we want to be mechanical, let's be mechanical in this, let's start understanding these little structures for the soul.
Really good. So lesson learned today, when you notice an insecurity, great, here I am evolving, I'm helping the world grow. And when you notice an insecurity and an upset moment, don't make any decisions. Your brain is in the high beta waves, bring it down to alpha, then we can talk, and you can take a nap or just walk away.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's a huge key to life, and that's a good wrap up.
Good. And Dominic said, thank you, well said. So good. It's somebody's thank you.
Well, today has been 40 minutes because we have our friends that want to listen to our podcast often, and sometimes it's too long, as also Glenn reminded us before. What we want to do, we can say the last wisdom together, and then maybe for today we try. It's so sad, but we have to.
Okay, bye. Go forever, but people they're traveling, they're in the middle of many things, they're driving to work, from work, and so I get it that it's not always feasible to sit down and listen for an hour, and so we'll just keep condensing it and saving the juice for each week, and we're good. So I think the words of wisdom, I mean, we've already said them all already, but just remembering you can't solve a problem with the same thinking that created the problem. When you are in a place in your life where you're not financially secure, that's when you budget. You make a plan when you don't have the things you want to get the things you want. You don't make the plan to get the things you want after you have them. That's how life works. But sometimes we put that carriage before the horse. So that's my closing note. What's your closing note, Sandy? In the first party or person or second person, however you're gonna.
So whichever one of me shows up. Everything Glenn said, yes. And don't be afraid of public speaking, even if it's with one person, even if it's on a date. My first date with Jen, I invited her to Dunkin' Donuts on 72nd Street on a Saturday at 1 p.m. and I brought my 5-year-old. And I said, this is my life. Welcome to it. Want to stay? She did.
Oof. That's blood repellent right there.
Because it's the way it is. But you and I, Glenn, don't have to date. But if you're going to be with me, that's what you get. There's also a lot of other really good stuff that you'll never know. You'll never know. So there. But I don't take it personally that you completely are repelled by me in the dating world. I love that you are you, and my light attracts the good one.
I love it. No, that's funny. I've had a girl want to meet me like at the park with her like 6-year-old, and I'm like, I don't really think that's where I want to be for a first date.
Why?
I have no issue that you have kids. I'm cool with that. I mean, I have kids. That's great. But I don't know if that's my first date idea, but obviously it worked for you, so that's amazing.
I think
maybe it worked for her with someone else. I don't know.
Yeah, should be a bit dangerous also. I don't know, crossing a river together or walking in the darkness to feel a bit of danger. Because every date is about going to the same restaurants and eating together, getting drunk, and then ta-da-da. So I believe we need a bit of adventures in this dating situation.
Ta-da-da.
My closing sentence, dream team, is we all have been children, and we were always wishing for a parent to be. So since we are adults, of course with our inner child alive, let's behave as we were wishing when we were children. So that's an amazing visualization that, of course, we can do as parents or as we are now. Because we must be children within, but we are also adults, unfortunately. So we must be as we were wishing when we were children.
And the children brings you scientifically down to those brainwave states where we have the creativity and the joy and the love and the connecting and the freedom. Yeah. Oh, beautiful. I love that.
The moral of the story is be like Francesca and put a broom into a horse. That's it.
There you
Turn
go.
every broom into a horse.
There you go. All right. Mwah. Love you guys.
Love you guys. Too. See you soon.
Ciao.
Okay.
See you super soon.